Stop. If you're about to buy your first campervan in 2026, you're walking into a completely different market than someone who's done this before, and that gap is costing first-timers between $15,000 and $30,000 in mistakes they don't even know they're making. I'm going to show you the exact differences between how first-time buyers and experienced buyers approach purchasing a campervan right now, not just what they buy, but why their strategies are polar opposites. And by the end of this, you'll know which mistakes to avoid, which so-called beginner vans are actually traps, and the one thing experienced buyers always do that first-timers skip. Let's get into it. Section 1. The brand trap. First-timers walk into dealerships asking for a Mercedes Sprinter or a Ford Transit because those names feel safe. Experienced buyers, they're asking about the wheelbase, the engine variant, and whether it's a 2023 or 2024 model, because they know a 2024 Transit with the 3.5L EcoBoost has a completely different resale curve than the 2023. Here's what's happening. First-time buyers treat campervans like cars. They think brand equals quality. But in 2026, the conversion matters more than the base vehicle. This applies whether you're looking at a Mercedes Sprinter campervan, a Ford Transit camper conversion, or a Ram ProMaster build. A $95,000 Winnebago Revel on a Sprinter chassis sounds impressive until you realize it has a wet bath you'll hate, a lithium system that's already outdated, and a floor plan that makes it impossible to add a second person later. Meanwhile, an experienced buyer is looking at a $72,000 Storyteller Overland Mode on a Transit, same price range, better insulation, modular furniture, and an electrical system they can actually expand. The difference? One typically drops around 20% in year one. The other often holds close to 85–90% of its value depending on condition and market timing. But here's the kicker. Experienced buyers also know when to go against the trend. Right now, everyone's chasing four-wheel drive, but if you're retiring in Arizona or traveling coastal Europe, you're paying $15,000 extra for a feature you'll use twice. First-timers don't ask themselves, where will I actually go? They buy for the Instagram fantasy, not their real life. Section 2. The layout blind spot. Let's talk about the layout mistake that kills more first-time buyers than anything else. Buying for today instead of tomorrow. You're single right now, so you buy a compact van with a fixed bed. 6 months later, you want to bring a partner, a dog, or your grandkids for a weekend. Suddenly, that Winnebago Travato you bought for $89,000 is a one-person prison. Experienced buyers think in scenarios. They ask, can I remove this dinette and add a desk if I go full-time? Can I swap this couch for a second battery? Is there physical space under the floor for a diesel heater if I decide to winter camp? First-timers fall in love with the showroom vibe. They see the cute curtains, the wood paneling, the little espresso machine. Experienced buyers rip out the cushions and check the subfloor. They open every cabinet and ask, is this real plywood or laminated particle board? By year 3, that particle board swells and your interior starts falling apart. And here's the controversial truth nobody tells you. The most popular beginner vans like the Pleasureway Plateau or the Roadtrek Zion are actually harder to live in long-term than a well-built DIY conversion. Why? Because manufacturers cheap out on ventilation. You get one max fan, no crossbreeze, and within 2 weeks of full-time living, you're dealing with condensation, mold, and a van that smells like wet socks. Experienced buyers add a second roof vent before they leave the lot. First-timers discover this problem $4,000 later when they're paying someone to cut another hole in their roof. Section 3. The electrical gamble. Now let's talk about the thing that separates amateurs from professionals, the electrical system. First-time buyers see 200 AH lithium battery on the spec sheet and think they're set. Experienced buyers ask, is that a single 200 AH battery or two 100 AH in parallel? What's the brand? Battleborn, Renogy, or some no-name Chinese cell that'll fail in 18 months? And most importantly, what's the continuous discharge rate? Because here's what happens. You buy a van with a 200 AH system and a 2000-watt inverter. Sounds great, but that battery can only handle 100 amps continuous draw. You try to run your induction cooktop, your Starlink, and your laptop at the same time. Bam! System shuts down. You're sitting in a Walmart parking lot in Wyoming resetting your entire electrical panel because nobody told you that total capacity and usable power are not the same thing. If this sounds technical, good, because this is exactly where most people get burned. Experienced buyers also know the dirty secret of solar. In 2026, 400 watts of roof solar is not enough for full-time living unless you're chasing the sun every single day. First-timers buy a Coachman Beyond with 200 watts of solar and think they can boondock indefinitely. 2 cloudy days later, they're idling their engine for 3 hours to recharge, burning $30 in fuel to generate $4 of electricity. The smarter play, experienced buyers install 600 watts of solar and a DC-to-DC charger that pulls 40 amps while driving. That means every hour on the road is an hour of charging. First-timers skip the DC-to-DC because it's a $600 upgrade, then spend $3,000 a year in ground fees because they can't stay off-grid. And here's the thing experienced buyers whisper to each other, but dealerships won't say. If your van doesn't have a battery management system with Bluetooth monitoring, you're flying blind. You have no idea if your batteries are balanced, if one cell is dying, or if your solar controller is even working. You just know one day your fridge stops running and you're Googling emergency RV repair at midnight. Section 4. The Resale Reality. Let's talk about money, real money. First-time buyers think depreciation is unavoidable. Experienced buyers know it's controllable. A brand new 2026 Thor Sequence on a Sprinter chassis is $140,000. Drive it off the lot, and in most markets, it's worth somewhere around $105,000 to $112,000. That's potentially $28,000 to $35,000 gone in one signature. But a 2-year-old 2024 Storyteller Overland Classic with 18,000 miles, you buy it for $102,000. 2 years later, you typically sell it for somewhere between $92,000 and $98,000. You lost $4,000 to $10,000 instead of $28,000 to $35,000. This is where people realize van life isn't expensive, bad decisions are. Experienced buyers hunt the sweet spot, vans that are 18 to 30 months old, post-initial depreciation, pre-major repair cycle. They know that in 2026, the resale kings are Storyteller, Overside van, and certain Winnebago Revel trims, not because they're the best vans, but because they have brand cachet in the resale market. First-timers buy what makes them feel good. Experienced buyers buy what they can sell without bleeding money. And here's the harsh truth. If you buy a Class B van with a proprietary electrical system or a custom layout from a small builder who goes out of business, which 7 campervan companies did in 2025, you just bought a depreciating asset with 0 parts support. Good luck selling that. Experienced buyers stick to platforms with nationwide service networks, Sprinter, Transit, ProMaster. They avoid boutique chassis like the Ram ProMaster City or the Nissan NV200 because when something breaks in rural Montana, no one has the parts. Section 5. The one thing experienced buyers always do. Here's the move that separates the pros from everyone else. Experienced buyers rent before they buy. They don't care how many YouTube videos they've watched. They spend $1,200 to rent the exact model they think they want, a Winnebago Solis, a Thor Talaro, whatever. And they live in it for a week. They cook in it, they sleep in it, they park it in tight spaces, they test the shower, the toilet, the heating system in real conditions. And you know what happens? 50% of the time, they hate it. The bed is too short, the kitchen is on the wrong side, the bathroom door hits the fridge, the RV's garage can't fit their bikes without removing the front wheels. First-timers skip this step because they're impatient, where they think it's a waste of money. Then they spend $110,000 on a van they sell 8 months later at a $25,000 to $32,000 loss. The math is simple. $1,200 to rent saves you $25,000 in mistakes.
Experienced buyers also join forums before they buy. They're in Sprinter-specific Facebook groups asking who's had injector failures on the 3.0-liter diesel. They're reading complaints on RV forums about specific model years. They're learning which Pleasureway floor plans have chronic water pump issues, or which Coachman models have slide-out seals that fail early. First-timers trust the salesperson. Experienced buyers trust the people who have already made the mistakes. And here's the opinion that's going to upset some people. In 2026, the worst thing you can do as a first-time buyer is buy new. I know that sounds crazy. New means warranty, right? Wrong. Most campervan warranties are 1 year bumper to bumper, then you're on the chassis warranty only, so after 12 months, that $130,000 Airstream Interstate has the same coverage as a used one, except you already lost $30,000 in value. Here's the truth. Buying new doesn't mean you're smart, it means you paid extra to learn lessons someone else already paid for. The best move for first-timers, buy a certified pre-owned 2024 or 2025 model with a reputable dealer and a 90-day warranty.
Pay a mechanic $300 to inspect it and pocket the $40,000 difference. Use that money to upgrade the electrical, add better insulation, or, here's a wild idea, actually travel instead of making payments. Experienced buyers know this. That's why roughly 2/3 of them buy used. First-timers think used means broken. Experienced buyers think used means someone else paid for the depreciation. So here's who should buy what. If you're a first-time buyer who wants weekends and occasional trips, get a used Transit or Sprinter conversion, 2 to 3 years old, with a proven layout like the Winnebago Travato or Coachman Beyond. Budget $75,000 to $95,000. Don't go new, don't go custom. If you're experienced and going full-time, buy a lightly used Storyteller, outside van, or a high-spec Revel with the solar and electrical upgrades already done. You'll pay $100,000 to $130,000, but you'll typically keep 80 to 85% of that value if you sell in 3 years. And if you're retiring and want luxury, skip the Class B entirely. Get a motorhome. You'll have more space, better systems, and you won't pretend you need 4-wheel drive for Yellowstone campgrounds. Now, I want to hear from you, and be honest. Did you buy based on logic, or did you buy based on how it made you feel? Type logic or feeling in the comments. I want to see where most people land. And if you're about to buy, what's the one thing you're still not sure about? Drop it below. I read every single one, and your question might save someone else $20,000. If you found this useful, don't just like it, share it with someone who's about to make a very expensive decision. I'll see you in the next one.